Okay, so get this, right? Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, it's not your typical tech company or product launch. We're going way back to the very beginning of a tech project. Like years of conversations between these two friends, Andy and Donnie.
Right.
And they're trying to build something completely from scratch.
Cool.
But here's the thing, right? It's not just about the technology.
Yeah.
It's about food and farming. They're both super passionate about it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we get to kind of be flies on the wall as they go from these like initial brainstorming sessions to like actually writing lines of code and building a website.
I see.
And it's really cool to see how their personal passions kind of intertwine with the project itself, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So their big idea, they wanted to create this website dedicated to, get this, Farm AgriTech.
Farm AgriTech, okay.
And it's not just any website. It's like they want this to be the website, the go-to resource for anyone interested in food and farming, you know, with articles and resources and forums for people to connect. Basically, like a digital town square.
I like it.
Yeah.
Very ambitious.
Oh, totally, totally ambitious. And you can hear that ambition right from the get-go in those early conversations.
Yeah.
They're not messing around. They're diving deep into like the nitty-gritty of web development, like debating things like Django versus Flask.
Oh yeah, the age-old debate.
And, you know, for those of us who aren't fluent in code,
Right.
what does that even mean? Like, why does that choice matter?
Yeah, so it all boils down to choosing the right tool for the job, right?
Okay.
Flask, you can think of it like a really versatile set of tools. You can build pretty much anything you want with it.
Okay.
But it takes a bit more work, you know, a bit more hands-on.
Okay, so it's more customizable?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Django, on the other hand, is more like, you know, you got your prefabricated walls,
Okay.
prefabricated floors. It's faster to get started.
Right.
It's maybe a little bit more limiting in what you can do, what you can build with it.
Interesting. So it's more like out of the box, kind of?
Yeah, more like a template, if you will,
I gotcha.
but less flexible, you see.
So which one did they end up going with?
They went with Flask.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they were really drawn to that flexibility, especially because they wanted to build something called, and this is where it gets a little technical,
Okay.
a microservices architecture.
Microservice. Okay, we're going to need like a tech glossary for some of these terms.
Okay, yeah, so
What is a microservices architecture?
Imagine your website is like a city, right?
Okay, a city.
So you have all these different like specialized buildings, right? You got your power plant, you got your water treatment facility, you got your post office, and they all do their own specific thing.
Right.
But they all work together to keep the city running smoothly.
I gotcha.
And that's kind of like a microservices architecture. Each part of the website, it's kind of like its own little service.
Yeah.
And they all communicate with each other,
Okay.
but they're all independent.
So it's more modular?
Exactly, yeah, it's
Right.
way more modular. And that makes it easier to scale, right, as the website grows.
That makes sense.
It makes it more resilient, like if one part of the city goes down, the whole city doesn't shut down.
Right. That's smart. So they're thinking long term.
They're thinking long-term for sure, which is a good lesson for any project, really. You know, whether you're building a website or you're, I don't know, building a tree house.
Right. It's all about that foundation.
Exactly, the foundation.
Yeah.
And, you know, we see this kind of meticulous planning in other areas too, like when they start talking about cloud computing and automation.
Okay. So Ansible, we've got to talk about that because I saw that come up a few times.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that one, I have no idea what it is.
So Ansible, think of it like this.
Okay.
It's like having a team of robots, right? That can handle all those repetitive tasks for you. Like if you need to set up a new server
Right.
or install some software, Ansible can just do it for you.
Interesting. So it automates those tasks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Automates it.
Okay.
So they don't have to do it manually every single time, and it makes it way less prone to errors.
And this frees them up to do the more important stuff?
Exactly. Focus on the creative stuff, the content, you know, the big picture,
Right. The fun stuff.
the fun stuff.
I like it. So they're talking the talk. They've got the tools.
Right.
They're ready to build this thing.
Yeah,
But it's one thing to talk about it. It's another to actually do it.
absolutely.
So where do they even begin? Like, what are the first steps they take to actually make this website a reality?
So they start, you know, with the design, like the really basic stuff.
Okay.
Wireframes.
Okay, so like the blueprint.
Exactly. The blueprint
Yeah.
of the website.
The skeleton, if
Yeah.
you will.
I got you.
Figuring out the layout, the navigation, you know, making sure it's user-friendly, all that good stuff.
Yeah, because design is so important.
Oh, critical, especially for something like this, where you want it to be, you know,
The go-to resource.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Easy to navigate, visually appealing, all of that.
Do they have any background in design?
You know, Donnie had dabbled a bit, but a lot of it was just like trial and error, bouncing ideas off of each other. Collaboration, exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's a good reminder that, you don't have to be an expert in everything.
Right.
You can learn as you go.
Especially when you're working with someone else.
Exactly. 2 heads are better than 1.
That's right. So they figured out the look, but now they got to make sure this thing actually works.
Right, all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Exactly, the tech stuff.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
The nuts and bolts, setting up servers.
Oh, yeah, gotta have those.
SSL certificates, which are, super important for security.
Okay, so what's an SSL certificate in layman's terms?
Basically, it's like the bouncer at the club, right? Make sure that, only the right people are getting in.
Okay, so it's like a digital bouncer.
Exactly, digital bouncer.
Protecting the website.
Protecting your information, yeah.
Okay, cool, I like that.
So they're knee-deep in code. They're trying to get all these different pieces to talk to each other.
And I'm sure there were some hiccups along the way.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, what kind of challenges did they run into?
So remember we talked about Flask?
Yeah.
And Apache.
Right, those were the 2 options.
Well, getting those 2 to play nicely together,
okay,
that was a challenge, let me tell you.
Really?
This happens all the time.
So they don't always work seamlessly together?
Not always. Sometimes you gotta, coax them a little bit.
I see. So what did they do?
A lot of Googling, let me tell you that.
Yeah, Googling is your friend.
Hitting the forums,
Bruh.
reading documentation.
Talking to other developers.
Absolutely tapping into that community knowledge.
Right.
Because even the best developers, they don't know everything.
No, of course not.
Right.
Everyone needs help sometimes.
Exactly. And, it's a good reminder that it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
And you'll usually find that people are happy to help.
Yeah, the tech community is pretty good about that.
Oh, yeah, very supportive.
Yeah.
So, they're figuring it out as they go.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to get their hands dirty.
That's awesome.
And they're not afraid to ask for help when they need it.
I like it.
So they've got the design, they're tackling the tech challenges.
Right, so what's next for these guys?
Well, remember, this whole thing started with a bigger vision, right?
Yeah, to make a difference.
Exactly, to make a real impact on the world of food and farming.
Okay.
And that's where things start to get really interesting.
So they've got the website up and running.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they had bigger plans up their sleeves.
Oh, absolutely. This website was just the tip of the iceberg for them.
Oh, so what else were they thinking about? Like, what kind of grand visions did they have for this whole thing?
Well, they were really passionate about, data. Data.
Yeah.
And how it could be used to empower farmers.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Like, imagine being able to access these detailed soil maps.
Right.
With, like, a few clicks.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Right. Know exactly what's going on in your soil, what kind of nutrients it needs.
Yeah.
And they're talking about building something called an API.
Okay. I've heard that term, but I don't really know what it means.
Yeah, it's a little technical, but basically it's like a way for different computer systems to talk to each other.
Okay.
So their idea was to create this API that would give anyone access to this valuable soil data.
Okay, so anyone could just like plug into this API.
Exactly, yeah, whether you're a farmer, a researcher, or just a gardening enthusiast.
That's really cool, democratizing that information.
Exactly, making it accessible to everyone.
I love it.
And, it wasn't just about the data itself. It was about what that data represented,
What do you mean?
Like this idea of using technology to create a more sustainable and equitable food system.
Right, because if you give farmers the information they need,
Yeah.
they can make better decisions
Exactly.
about how they manage their land.
And it's interesting because as they're having these conversations about the future of farming and technology,
Yeah.
we also start to see how these ideas are influencing their own lives,
Really?
Like how? Well, Andy, for example, he starts talking about these changes he's making to his own diet,
Okay.
eating healthier, more locally sourced food.
That's great.
And it's directly inspired by, the work he's doing on the website.
So it's like this feedback loop.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a really cool feedback loop between technology and personal growth.
I like that.
And then there's Donnie, who, he's always been kind of a deep thinker.
Yeah, he had those like theories about like modern life and everything.
Right, exactly. And he starts to get really into this idea of like the connection between technology and well-being.
Okay, interesting, because they're building something with technology.
Exactly. It's a little ironic, but it's this really healthy tension,
Yeah, it's like they're aware of the potential downsides,
Right.
but they're trying to use technology for good.
Exactly. And I think that's what I find so inspiring about their story. It's not just about building something cool. It's about using technology to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And that farm succession app that Donnie was talking about, that's a perfect example of that.
Oh yeah, Festival. That was his baby.
Yeah, tell us more about that, because that one really stuck with me.
Yeah, so he saw this problem, right? Like family farms struggling to survive.
Right.
And he thought, what if there was an app that could help?
Okay.
An app that could connect young farmers with mentors.
Okay.
Help families navigate the financial aspects of farm succession.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right. And even encourage those sustainable practices that we were talking about earlier.
So it's like a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. It's not just an app. It's a whole ecosystem, a community.
And I love that.
And it all came from this desire to use technology to solve a real world problem.
It's been amazing to kind of go back in time with you.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And relive this project. And, it really just goes to show that the most innovative ideas often come from the most unexpected places.
Absolutely.
And it's a good reminder for all of us that we don't need to be tech geniuses
Right.
to make a difference. It's about finding something you're passionate about and figuring out how technology can help you make a difference, even in a small way.
It all starts with an idea.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be inspired by Andy and Donnie's story
I hope so.
to start building something amazing of their own.